Hi, and welcome to Arts Focus. My name is J.J. Musgrove. I am the Director of the Office of Cultural Affairs for the City of Columbia.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dresser. I am the Program Specialist for the Office of Cultural Affairs.
What we're attempting to do today is that we're introducing a new show to the Columbia area called Arts Focus. And the intent of that is that it will be a 30-minute program that will happen once a month, and that will try to bring in representatives from the different arts and culture organizations within our fair and fun community here, and have them talk about what is going on with their groups. Educate the public on how they were founded, what is currently going on with them right now, any programs or special events that they are having, and then also what we are looking forward to them doing in the future, and just have them have an opportunity to allow us to know what is going on with their group so that you can become a part of that group should you wish to do so. Who are we, which is always a fun question to ask, and how do we get these particular positions with the OCA? Let's start with you, Sarah. You have been with the OCA for how long now?
I've been with the Office of Cultural Affairs since May 2012, so just over 3 years. I am embarking on my 4th year.
Great, that's wonderful.
In this position, and I guess we're going to kind of talk a little bit about our backgrounds and how we got to be here where we are presently. Right. So just a little about myself. I would say I grew up in Columbia. My family moved here when I was 10 years old, and the arts were always a huge part of my life. I was involved with piano and lessons all growing up. I danced with Halcyon Perlman, so I did a lot of classical ballet training, and then I was involved with a lot of the arts organizations in Columbia, such as Access Arts and Columbia Art League. I was always involved with summer camps or classes throughout the years, and I ended up majoring in piano performance in college, so I kind of took my love for the arts and studied that when I was at William Jewell College. So I got away from Columbia for a couple years, moved back here after college and taught piano and worked at Missouri Theater, and then I did a couple other internships away from Columbia, and then went on to do my master's in arts administration at Indiana University. And fate would have it that when I was looking for jobs upon graduation, high hopes to maybe go to the big city, do some, big arts organization, the job with the Office of Cultural Affairs in Columbia popped up actually on a national website. So I was not even looking, but Columbia called me back, and I've really enjoyed my time back in Columbia, kind of with a new perspective, and having gone away to different cities and explored different parts of the U.S., but now I feel like I've known Columbia and seen it grown over those years.
You have a really, really broad interaction with a lot of the different arts and culture organizations that we have here.
Yeah.
And so that's wonderful to be able to bring that type of background, into this particular office.
Good. And I've definitely learned a lot more about, the 20-plus arts organizations and all the activities that go on in the city that I may or may not have been involved with growing up. And of course, there's just been so many new organizations over the past several years that have been founded or have grown, like True False. That's a prime example that always sticks out in my head. So it's really exciting to kind of see how things are always growing and changing and over the years.
Great, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
My journey here was a little bit different than that. I grew up in a very small town in Bates County, Butler, Missouri, which is about 2 or 3 counties south of Kansas City. And I grew up what they call it humble, so basically on the wrong side of the tracks, poor as you can be. And I was always going to stay in that particular town and work at Hardee's and be perfectly fine with that. And then a theater troupe came through my high school, and they did Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was hooked. And I went home and I told my mother that to pack her bags because I was going to be the next Al Pacino. And she said, yes, I'm sure you will. And I pursued that as much as I possibly could, and I went to college in Iowa and got a bachelor's in theater there. I stayed in Iowa and worked there for a while as a fine arts recruiter. I went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts out in Los Angeles for a while. I did that training program, and that was an eye-opening experience to live in LA and to do that at 23 years old. I then came back to Iowa, and I got a master's at University of Central Missouri in theater. And then as things happened in my life, I met a woman who was smarter than me, who had a PhD in theater, and I just followed her around while she taught. And we ended up in Georgia, and after acting for 20 some odd years professionally in equity houses, I decided to turn to arts administration, and was an executive director for a symphony orchestra there for about 7 years. And then I was really interested about helping people through philanthropy, and I got a job at the community foundation there and helped people give money to charity in a smart and intelligent way. But I really missed Missouri, and I wanted to come back here. And very much like you, popped up on a national search that this opening came, and I applied for it, and the silly people gave me the job. So
Yeah.
that's how you ended
how
up
we
with
got-
me.
We got stuck with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Stuck with me, and hopefully in
And
a good way. But
yeah, I think both of our stories is interesting how, we both kind of grew up in Missouri or had connections to Columbia. I know that you long ago, were here for the summer rep theater. So
I was. Yeah, that's exactly right. I was here in 1989, before you were born, for the summer rep theater at University of Missouri. Jim Miller was director for a show that I was in there. And I was 19 years old, and it was a wonderful experience, and very, very eye-opening. Summer rep is like summer camp in many ways, so it was really nice. So,
yeah, so we both found our way back.
yeah, and I can truly say when I go out and I talk to people, because they say, why are the arts important? To me, the arts saved my life. They gave me a purpose. They gave me a way to express myself. They gave me a way to pay for college. And it's been a wonderful joy for me to be able to keep staying involved in the arts and just giving back and trying to help these arts and culture organizations here get started, to be sustainable and things like that. So
I think that's a really good point you bring up too about, I think that's one of the things we try to convey to people when we're educating them is that, everyone hopefully, has a story like that about how the arts have changed their lives. And I think when you're, talking to people about why they should support the arts, there's so many countless stories like yours about how it impacted you and maybe changed your life's direction. So I think that's something to keep in mind too. And there's a lot of organizations in Columbia that are doing, trying to do the same thing. That's pretty much at the core of all of their missions is, enhancing the community and, educating children and, how those programs can have an impact on the people that they serve in Columbia. So
exactly.
so, there's so many stories out there similar to yours. Or
Yeah.
yeah. Great. Well, let's see. We have some questions. What other things can we talk about? You go ahead.
No, it's okay. That's fine. I was actually seeing that we had some questions that we were going to ask each other here, but I think that maybe we circle back around, come back to that just in a second, and kind of let people know what the Office of Cultural Affairs is. You may have heard about it. You may have not heard about it. It does have a strange name. It's not unusual that a city has an Office of Cultural Affairs, but it is unusual that a city this size has a Cultural Affairs office. We could be called an Arts Alliance, we can be called Arts and Culture Office, but basically it is a small department of the city, so it is city funded, and our mission is to help arts and culture organizations within our community be more sustainable. I think our official mission here which is always fun to read. OCA creates an environment where artists and cultural organizations thrive by advancing and supporting the arts for the benefit of the citizens of Columbia, which is basically just what I said. Our job is to try to touch all of the arts and culture organizations within our community, touch base with them and see how we can add value in their particular organizations. And we do that through a variety of different ways. We do it through doing workshops to help them learn how to be better fundraisers or how to build a board. We do it in meeting with them if they haven't formed their 501c3 yet, and work with them one-on-one on how they go about becoming a 501c3, a nonprofit charity. We help them in a variety of other ways as well. Primarily, through a funding program, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Yeah. But so that's what the OCA is there. It's been there since 1992. It came out of a commission before then on cultural affairs and the arts, And it was important enough for the citizens of Columbia to ask the city to form a permanent department to be able to help our arts and culture organizations around.
Yeah.
So, I think some of the biggest things that happen within, and especially with your job as far as being a program specialist, talk about a little bit about our, I see our Percent for Art program and things like that as far as what we do as an office.
Right. So the Percent for Art program, it was established by city ordinance in 1997. So that 1% of any new construction or renovation project that the city is responsible for, 1% of that budget, if it's over $1 million, may be eligible for site-specific public art. So it's already worked into the budget at the beginning of the project. And the very first Percent for Art project was the garage on the corner of Cherry and 8th Street.
Yes.
Rolling ahead, people might be familiar with it. It has a stairwell that is a mixture of neon lights as well as then ceramic tiles that are on the outside of the building. So that was the very first Percent for Art project that was completed in 1999. And we've had many more parking garages, fire stations. When City Hall was expanded and renovated in 2010, now everyone's very familiar with the Keys to the City that's right outside City Hall. There's also artwork on the interior of the building. And it's just a way for the city to really focus in on art being important to the everyday lives of our citizens, enhancing those places. I don't know if you have anything else to add about kind of public art and its purpose. You so eloquently say that.
Well, the Percent for Art program is just so wonderful, and it's not necessarily unique to Columbia, but we only us in Kansas City have this program in Missouri, and a lot of communities they hear about it, they go to conferences and things like that, and they hear about what a wonderful program this is. Excuse me, having a fun time getting over a cold. But it truly allows us as a community to celebrate our humanity, because we do that with renovating projects and with new projects as far as seeing architectural, the architecture of a particular building, why it's built that way. Its design is everywhere. And so when we see something that has now become as iconic as that Keys to the City outside City Hall, which is in everything now that you see in Columbia, I think it really allows us to celebrate our humanity, which is wonderful.
Right, yeah.
Now, one of the wonderful things that when I came and interviewed for the job, and I looked around and I saw our traffic boxes were painted and they were beautiful, some of them were, and I thought how cool that was, and I said, I wonder who does that? And they said, well, if you get the job, you do. So tell us a little bit about the traffic box program.
Yeah, so that's a really fun program that I get to help administer, and that is a yearly annual program that we do. Back in 2007, it was a pilot project we partnered with the police department to figure out how can we abate the graffiti that was happening on these traffic signal boxes downtown. People were putting stickers on them and tagging them, and one way that other communities had found would help with that graffiti problem was to decorate the traffic boxes with artwork. Graffiti artists will rarely come around and mark over a piece of art.
Right.
So David Spear was chosen in 2007 to decorate the box on the corner of 9th Street and Broadway. And that was such a success that in the years since then, once a year, we'll do a call to artists for design proposals. So we kind of have some criteria about, we want it to be kind of focused on downtown and Columbia and that vibrancy of the community. So not so much just any kind of whimsical design. There's a lot of great ones out there, but really still focused on Columbia and the downtown. But that could take many forms. Like you see a lot of variety, and I think we've just completed our 8th traffic box this last year.
Yeah.
On the corner of 9th Street and Cherry. And they're mostly around the downtown corridor on Broadway, Walnut. Now we have kind of gone towards Cherry Street. And I think they're just a great way to kind of add to that vibrancy in the streetscape and give visitors and citizens alike something interesting to look at when they're downtown, and it's really cut back on those being targets for graffiti as well.
Well, it just looks like it's just such an elegant solution. Not only does it give an opportunity for our local artists to be able to do something that contributes toward the wonderful genre of street art, if you can, if you can put it in that, and some artists that are not street artists but are being able to take their art and use it in this particular medium, but it creates a wonderful vibrancy downtown. It creates a colorful downtown, and there's a difference between straight graffiti that's street art, and then street art. I mean, there's one is beautiful creation and one is just vandalism.
Exactly.
And when you start getting into the vandalism portion of it, you create an atmosphere of fear, in your community. And so by allowing us to have this wonderful program, it certainly tries to remove some of that and create a better environment for all of us.
And I know that the local mid-Missouri artists, who are open to apply, they really love the opportunity to maybe push themselves a little bit, because like you said, they might not be kind of public artists. They might be used to working in their studio all the time or working on a different scale. So kind of stretching them, because those boxes don't just take a couple hours to paint. It's many, many hours of being outside, being on the street, like you're not, a lot of artists are kind of maybe like to work privately in their studio. So I think it's a great experience for them to get out there in the community and work on something in the public eye, and also interact with people who are walking by. I know that a lot of our artists who've been out there painting for days and weeks have had a lot of great conversations with people who see the work in progress.
Well, we've talked about that too, is just in different meetings, especially with the district, as far as you create the vibrancy of your downtown area, especially during the day when you have street performers and people out there that are working and are showing their art to everybody. And so we're trying to contribute in that manner too, which is great. Let's go, now we talked about public art, we talked about the traffic boxes. I'll put you on the spot again. Let's go straight to the public art tour and the app, so that if people, now we've hopefully got them excited about our public art. Yeah. So how can they find out more about it, Sarah?
Yeah, more about public art. We have two different guides. One is our hard copy public art guide, and that is available for free, various locations at City Hall, at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. People can pick that up in hard copy and take it around. But then we also, just this last year, worked with a company called AutoCast, and we created a tour on that app of all of our public arts, and not just the city-owned ones, but quite a few throughout the city that we give out information. And so on that tour, you can download it on your iPhone or an Android, and it's AutoCast, OTOCAST, and you just kind of go and search that, and it should pop up. And you click on the Columbia tour, and there are written descriptions, photos, but there's also an audio component on every stop on the map. So it's either the artist talking a little bit more in detail about their process or what the artwork represents, or it's someone else kind of giving an extra layer of description about that particular piece. And there's also a map component, so you can be using it as you're going around town, or if you're just at home, I think it's also great. You can really get an extra layer of understanding of all the different pieces around Columbia. And then the great thing too that I really like about this app is that there's all these other tours in cities across the US. So hopefully, people who might even just be visiting Columbia can download the app and then use it when they're traveling other places. And there's constantly being new tours and cities added to the app. And I think that's great that Columbia can be put alongside these other cities, like there's New York and Chicago, Boston, but then there's also like Napa, California, and Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. So there's lots of different tours around the U.S., and it's great to see Columbia kind of in the mix of all of those cities.
And the nice thing about it is that, of course, being electronic and digital, is that we can update that as much as possible.
Right.
We've partnered with True False when they had the last festival, as far as emphasizing and showing what they had, their temporary art projects or exhibits, right?
Yeah, so part of the True False Film Festival is a lot of these temporary public art pieces that kind of pop up at venues and also in the streets, and they were able to have their own individual tour as well that was just up for kind of the week of the festival. So it was fun to work with them and see how the app can be used for maybe a temporary public art exhibit that's happened in Columbia as well.
Yeah, that was fantastic to work with them because they certainly are great folks there. And we'll keep looking at how we can
Yeah,
expand that app. And
exactly.
there's been talk about how we can even show more about local areas and things of that nature through that app. So that'll be very
Yeah.
exciting to do. One of the big questions that I have that people ask about Office of Cultural Affairs is our funding mechanism. And it's important that it's not a secret, it's on the website. I mean, everybody should know about that. But once a year, we do go through an annual funding process where if you are a 501c3 arts and culture organization, you can apply for annual funding. And the Commission on Cultural Affairs is a volunteer commission that people can sign up for when they have openings there, and then there's an appointment process by the council. But it's their job, one of their main responsibilities is to go through all of the applications, and the applications are long, and they're bulky at times, and there's a lot of support materials that go along with it. This past year, we had 24, is that right?
Yeah.
24 arts and culture organizations that applied for funding. All of them did receive funding, anywhere from $1,000 to about $7,300. So each year we give out about $100,000 for our annual funding process. And then we also have another funding process called Small Request. If you're doing a specific project or if something that's innovative, you can request up to $750, depending on your budget, your overall operational budget. But you can request up to $750, and it's also considered by the commission. And all of those things that we can offer, once again, to add value to our organizations here in town, are available on our OCA website through the city, which is?
Go columbiamo.com/arts with a capital A.
Strange that it's a capital A, and we're just going to keep saying a capital A.
Although you can also, I believe you can still just go comoarts.com or .org, and it'll just direct you there. So maybe we should think about rebranding our, just pushing that. It's like way more simple for people to remember. But
so now we just invited you in on a brainstorming session.
Yeah, well,
there.
you
so,
can,
yeah.
We can discuss this
Okay,
more
all right, good.
when we're not on camera.
Basically, Sarah's in charge, and so we just do that. We have a couple of upcoming projects that are coming here that you can find out through that website as well. OCA is also in charge of the Columbia Values Diversity Celebration Breakfast that happens in January. It's always the coldest day of the year, although we got lucky these past 2 years. It's been pretty good.
Knock on wood.
I know, exactly. We do that. We also are the office that's in charge of the commemorative poster design. You may have seen those around town or at Deck the Walls. Some that stick out in our minds, there's a poster of Booches that everybody loves, and there have been a variety. None of them's coming to my head now because I'm on camera.
That's kind of the one that's been the most popular over the last several years, and that was in 2011.
Yeah.
But the poster has been around since 1992, but back then it was tied to the Columbia Festival of the Arts, and then when that went away in 2009, it kind of was rebranded as the annual City of Columbia commemorative poster for each year. So it's kind of, we've kept up that tradition of having a poster every year since then.
And we go through a process there where we have artists that submit their designs for consideration, and then we have a committee that meets and they do a blind look through all of the different designs that the artists have submitted, and they choose one, and that's our poster for the year. And then we have a annual poster party for the arts, which is a fundraiser for the office. It's a fundraiser to help build up an arts endowment fund that we started several years ago called the Columbia Arts Fund. And this fund is eventually going to be, when it reaches a certain total, will be used to augment the funding that is already going on for our arts and culture organizations. And hopefully we'll get there sometime soon to do that particular things. I see we're about to run out of time here. So I guess, are there any further thoughts that you have right now that you think is important for this first inaugural program?
I guess the one other thing I would mention that we do, which I think is we've kind of touched on a little bit about giving out information regarding public art, but then we also have our Columbia Arts Guide, which lists kind of all the galleries, all the performing arts organizations, all the festivals. So that's a great tool for people who might want to know about some organization they haven't gone to a program. And then also we try to keep people up to date on the current events that are happening through, we have our Facebook page, we also have an online calendar on our website. But then also if you go to our Facebook page, which is at Como Arts, or our website, there is a button to sign up for our newsletter, which goes out once a week on Thursdays. And I put that together and really try to hit up every single arts event or gallery opening or classes that are starting up for the next week. So we have quite a few people signed up for that email newsletter, and it's called Art News. So I think the more people can know that those tools are out there, they won't kind of see things that have passed and say, oh, I wish I knew about that, because we really try to get all the information of all the events that are going on, and in the simplest way possible, get that out to people. So yeah, go to our website and click on those buttons and sign up, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful tool for us to use to keep people involved, or informed rather, about things that are going on within the community. And to pick up a Columbia Arts Guide, you can come by the Walton Building, which is 300 South Providence, which is where we're located at. It's also the same building that the Chamber of Commerce and the Convention and Visitors Bureau is located at. Or you can stop by City Hall lobby there to do that. So next month what we'll be doing is we will have 3 representatives from 3 different arts and culture organizations, and we will talk to them in an interview format. Sarah and I will switch off, and we will talk to them about what's going on in their particular organization and inform you of that. Yeah, so good. We got through it. Good for us. We want to thank you for your time, and thank you for tuning in to Arts Focus, presented by CAT TV and the Office of Cultural Affairs.